Have you ever wondered how Europe, a continent so rich in diversity and history, came to be what it is today? Our story begins in the chiseled depths of prehistory, an era shrouded in mystery. It was during this time, millions of years ago, that the first known inhabitants of Europe, the Neanderthals, roamed the land. These early hominids were not just survivors, but innovators, creating tools and mastering fire, setting the stage for the arrival of Homo sapiens. Fast forward to around 40,000 years ago, a new species, our species, started to populate the continent. These early humans, with their heightened cognitive abilities, began to establish the first settlements, marking the dawn of civilization. As eons passed, the Stone Age gave way to the Bronze Age, a period of significant advancement. Metalworking techniques were discovered and honed, leading to the creation of more sophisticated tools and weapons. This technological leap propelled societies forward, paving the way for the establishment of the first European civilizations. Among these early civilizations, two in particular made their mark in Greece: the Minoans and the Mycenaeans. The Minoans, known for their elaborate palaces and vibrant frescoes, were a testament to the power of trade and maritime prowess. They thrived on the island of Crete, becoming the first advanced civilization in Europe. Not too far off, on the mainland, the Mycenaeans rose to prominence. Their society, heavily influenced by the Minoans, was marked by the construction of grand palaces and fortified citadels. The Mycenaeans were the first to speak a form of the Greek language, planting the seeds for the rich tapestry of Greek culture and thought that would follow. But as with all great civilizations, the Bronze Age too came to an abrupt end. It was a period of turmoil and decline, marked by invasions, destruction, and the fall of the once mighty Mycenaeans. Yet out of this chaos, a new chapter in Europe's story was about to unfold. From the ashes of the Bronze Age, a new era dawned, one that would set Europe on a course towards greatness. As the Bronze Age faded, a new era emerged, an era defined by great empires and philosophical thought. Let's delve deeper into this captivating period known as Classical Antiquity. This epoch was marked by the rise and fall of two of the most influential civilizations in human history: ancient Greece and Rome. Ancient Greece, the cradle of Western civilization, was a vibrant tapestry of city-states, each with its own unique flavor. Among them, Athens and Sparta stood out, their rivalry culminating in the epic Peloponnesian War. This conflict, driven by power, honor, and fear, forever changed the political landscape of Greece. But Greece was not only about warfare. This was the era of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, whose philosophical thought still echoes through the corridors of time. The Greeks pioneered democracy, theater, and the Olympic Games, leaving an indelible mark on our world. Meanwhile, a new power was rising in the West: Rome. According to legend, it was founded by Romulus and Remus, twins raised by a she-wolf. From its humble beginnings as a small settlement on the banks of the Tiber River, Rome grew into a dominant force, initially as a republic marked by social struggles between patricians and plebeians. The Roman Republic was characterized by a complex political system, with checks and balances that inspired modern democratic governments. However, internal strife eventually led to its downfall. In its place, the Roman Empire was born, under the rule of Augustus, the first emperor. Rome's power stretched from the fringes of Scotland to the sands of Egypt, its influence permeating every aspect of life in the ancient world. The Romans were master engineers, building roads, aqueducts, and architectural marvels that still stand today. They gave us the calendar, the legal system, and even the Latin language. However, like all great empires, Rome too had its sunset. Economic instability, barbarian invasions, and internal decay led to its collapse in the 5th century AD. The collapse of Rome sent shockwaves across the continent, plunging Europe into a period of uncertainty and change. This marked the end of classical antiquity, paving the way for the next chapter in Europe's fascinating history. With the fall of Rome, Europe entered a period often referred to as the Dark Ages. But was it really as dark as it's often portrayed? The Middle Ages, also known as the medieval period, spanned roughly from the 5th to the 15th century. A time of significant change and development, it was far from the grim and stagnant era often depicted in popular culture. One of the most notable features of this period was the spread of Christianity. As the Roman Empire crumbled, the Church emerged as a powerful institution, becoming the spiritual and, in many ways, the political authority across Europe. Monasteries and convents sprang up, acting as centers of learning and hubs of cultural preservation. Then, there was the rise of the Holy Roman Empire, Established in the 10th century, this complex political entity was neither holy nor Roman, nor an empire, as Voltaire famously quipped. Despite its name, the Holy Roman Empire was largely a confederation of Germanic states under the nominal leadership of an emperor, and it played a crucial role in shaping the political landscape of medieval Europe. The Viking Age also falls within the Middle Ages. Originating from Scandinavia, the Vikings were not just fierce warriors and raiders but also traders, explorers and settlers. Their voyages took them as far as North America to the west and Constantinople to the east, deeply influencing the regions they encountered. And of course, we can't forget the Crusades, a series of holy wars waged by the Christians of Europe against the Muslims in the Middle East. Fueled by religious fervor and the promise of eternal salvation, the Crusades had profound consequences, both positive and negative, that reverberate even today. So, the Middle Ages were not as dark as they're often portrayed. Yes, it was a time of warfare, disease, and social upheaval. But it was also a time of profound cultural, political, and technological evolution. The Middle Ages, a time of knights and castles, was followed by a period of great discovery and change. The world as we know it began to take shape during the modern era. But how did Europe navigate these changes? Our journey through the annals of time takes us to the modern era, a period that witnessed a seismic shift in the trajectory of human civilization. This era was marked by several transformative periods, and Europe was at the heart of it all. First, let's turn our attention to the Renaissance, a period of cultural, artistic, political, and economic rebirth following the Middle Ages. This was a time when Europe was reawakening, discovering the beauty and wisdom of the ancients, and creating masterpieces of art and literature that still resonate today. Then came the Age of Discovery. European explorers, driven by curiosity and the thirst for wealth, sailed beyond the known world. They charted new territories, bridged continents, and forever changed our understanding of the planet. The Reformation came next, shaking the religious foundations of Europe. The Protestant Reformation, sparked by Martin Luther, led to a schism in the Church that still shapes the religious landscape of Europe today. It was a period of religious upheaval and reform that forever altered the spiritual life of the continent. The Industrial Revolution followed, a period of rapid industrial growth that transformed largely agrarian rural societies in Europe into industrialized urban ones. This revolution introduced new technologies, increased productivity, and brought about significant socio-economic change. Finally, we have the Age of Enlightenment, a period where reason was championed as the primary source of authority and legitimacy. This era saw the birth of modern political ideologies, the rise of science, and the questioning of traditional social, religious, and political norms. The modern era set the stage for some of the most transformative events in human history. It was a time of profound change and growth, a time when Europe navigated its way through cultural, political, economic, and scientific revolutions. These periods shaped the Europe we know today and established a foundation for the world as we understand it now. The 20th century was a time of great upheaval and change for Europe, but how did it shape the continent we know today? In the early decades, Europe was gripped by two world wars, conflicts of such scale and devastation that they reshaped the entire globe. The First World War, often referred to as the Great War, was a brutal conflict that saw the old world order crumble. The Second World War, a mere 2 decades later, was even more catastrophic, leaving a trail of destruction and a continent divided. Following the end of the Second World War, Europe found itself in the throes of a new kind of conflict, the Cold War. This was a battle not fought with guns and bombs, but with ideology, politics, and espionage. The continent was split into two camps, the Democratic West, led by the United States, and the Communist East, under the influence of the Soviet Union. This division, symbolized by the Berlin Wall, lasted for almost half a century. While the Cold War was in full swing, a new entity began to take shape, the European Union. Born out of a desire to prevent another devastating war in Europe, the EU aimed to promote peace, stability, and economic cooperation among its member states. Initially composed of just 6 countries, it has since grown to include 27, becoming a significant player on the global stage. Then, in 1991, came a seismic event that would once again reshape Europe, the fall of the Soviet Union. The Iron Curtain was lifted, the Berlin Wall fell, and countries of Eastern Europe began their transition towards democracy and market economies. As we look to the future, we carry with us the lessons of the past, shaping a Europe that is diverse, inclusive, and united. The 20th century, with all its turmoil and change, has undoubtedly left an indelible mark on the Europe we know today. As we move into the 21st century and beyond, these events continue to inform our understanding of European history and guide our steps towards a future of peace and cooperation. Europe's history is a rich tapestry of events, ideas, and people that have shaped the world we live in today. From the dawn of Europe, through the classical antiquity, the Middle Ages, the modern era, to the 20th century and beyond, each era has left indelible marks on the sands of time. These eras, each unique and influential, have collectively shaped the Europe we know today. History, as we've seen, is not a straight line but a winding road, full of twists and turns. And in understanding our past, we can better navigate our future.